Hi everyone, and welcome back to ScorcherToysAtAnyMoon.com's third part in a continuing series of reviews on Takara's dual model Votoms toys, or Votoms if you prefer. In video 1, we covered the first 5 Scope Dog releases. In video 2, we looked at the 5 Brutish Dog releases. In this video, we're looking at all 6 of the Red Shoulder releases. While dual model toys were premium efforts, the original Red Shoulder release was meant to be a true top shelf item. The box is taller and wider than the regular release. There's no window to see the toy. Instead, the whole thing is ensconced in artwork and textured cardboard. Inside is a tray that slides out with flaps and more artwork. Opening those flaps reveals the full breadth of this offering. This was the kind of packaging that made everything within feel like such a big deal. Takara's next Red Shoulder release was the Voodoo Kumin Perfect Soldier Box 2. That came with a dual model toy and the video game. Gone is the fancy textured cardboard and pull-out sleeve. Now everything came in baggies tucked in cardboard trays. That theme continued with the limited clear release, which managed to downsize the box to the same dimensions Takara used for the clear Scope Dog and Brutish Dog, which is probably easier for retailers, with the only differentiator at the store being the extra cost of the Red Shoulder. Takara stayed with this format for their Red Shoulder reissue, which continues to contain everything from the original toy, but in compact packaging and cardboard trays. Takara's next effort, the metallic limited edition toy, added a window to the box and a metallic sheen. For the final dual model release, Takara pulled out all the stops. The box was bigger and has a flap on top so you can check out all the goodies. And this toy features the largest amount of accessories included with any toy in the line. We're going to spend a lot of time on the accessories because the toys, the Scope Dog, is the same as the original release, which you could see on the right here. The only difference, the obvious Red Shoulder here, and a slot in the side for the Red Shoulder armaments. That was not on the original Scope Dog, but once they released a Red Shoulder, all future Scope Dogs and Brutish Dogs include that slot. So it's the exact same toy, no difference in features or installation of any of the parts that it comes with. We got the pilot, we got the opening canopy that closes, we have the opening visor so you can see the pilot within, we got the sliding scope, the twisting scope, and the moving head, and we have the down mode, which we'll look at a little bit later, the storage here, everything, again, exactly the same as it was on the Scope Dog release, so I'm not gonna overdo it. Now there was a reissue that came later. Here's the reissue. The only difference between the reissue and the original Red Shoulder, as far as I could tell, is the darkness of this visor area. Otherwise, exactly the same. Your journey is going to begin by installing the armor flaps just like we did on that first Scope Dog toy, so do refer back to that video because we're not going to cover it here. One complaint when we're talking about accessories for this toy, with a round mover and a parachute pack, things that aren't specific to a Red Shoulder toy, it would have been nice if they gave us a green shoulder, so we got to swap this out and done something like the Space Assault version of the Scope Dog, instead of having to have a Red Shoulder on at all times. Now the Red Shoulder is easily removable, and we could swap it onto the other shoulder, so we could do either Vanilla's version or the more appropriate actual Red Shoulder custom. Now, a word of warning that also carries over from that Scope Dog review is that the video game versions have very brittle plastic, and you can see here a big crack that comes down. Even the backpack connector on this one has broken off. So every single flap cracked on me as I tried to install it on this toy. So I've used glue to glue everything back together, and I'll have to use glue again back here So just be warned. I have a guilty pleasure, and it is the metallic versions of these toys. Now, anyone who's familiar with vacuum-formed metallic toys know that the plastic has a tendency to be brittle. As such, I haven't been brave enough to actually install the flaps on my Red Shoulder toy. You can see the Red Shoulder toy, unlike the Brutish Dog or Scope Dog, is done all in one color. These toys have some accent colors to them. I appreciate that. I think the Red Shoulder could have been the inverse of the Scope Dog, with gold being the accent, or they could have used like a gunmetal gray for some of the accent colors. Instead, they went all silver, and it does look sharp. It just doesn't quite have the contrast or the pop. Now, as I rotate this toy around, you'll probably notice a bunch of fingerprints. That is definitely an issue with the metallic toys. But man, like I said, they are guilty pleasure. I really love them. I think they look amazing, but I'm just not brave enough to put all the accessories on them and have more fun with them. The Red Shoulder toy comes with a parachute pack. The parachute pack is exactly the same accessory that was included with the original Scope Dog toy. The reissue is also exactly the same. It's a cool accessory. It does have removable ammo tins at the bottom of it. The only differences as we move on to other Red Shoulder toys are color variations. So here's the metallic one, the clear version, and then the Revival dual model, which is only notable because it's got another paint application here and obviously different color scheme. Otherwise, same great accessory we already discussed in the Scope Dog review. There are lots of accessories included with this toy, and a lot of assembly is required, although it's very basic assembly. So we're going to start with the round mover. The round mover here is going to attach to these pods here, and there are 3 nozzles that also attach to each one of these 4 pods. So I'm just going to begin by snipping away, and you could also do this by rotating away. And we're gonna free up all 4 of those balls, and we're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna free up 3 for each one of these nozzles here. So for each booster section, 3 nozzles, they just plug right into place. There's a nice, very firm fit. And if you wanted to, you could add a little touch of glue to make sure that this is permanent. Once they're on like so, it just slots right into the round mover accessory, and we're going to repeat that for each corner. Next, we're going to grab this piece here, which I believe is another type of solid shooter. You can see there's a slot in the bottom of it, and we have these little magazines here. So I'm again going to use my little nippers and just cut these free, and twisting of course would work there as well. And once we have them free, you just push the 2 pieces together. You could hear a nice, very solid connection, and then we slot that in as the magazine to finish off the part. Sticking with this sprue, we are now going to detach the 2 front and back of the missile launcher, or rocket launcher as the case may be, just popping those free. They come off, and then we have this part here, and we're just gonna line things up and apply a little pressure. And that will go on the front, and then this will go on the back. And it's a little snug on the back because you have this little piece right here, but there you go. It should look like that. And now obviously we could pop off all these missiles and load them in. I do have some questions about the color choices, but here is the side-mounted rocket or missile launcher. Here are the missiles that are gonna go in there. We're just gonna pop those free and put them inside. It seems like it would have been a lot smarter to use the red missiles to go in here and the green missiles to go in here, so there was a little bit more contrast, but hey, it is what it is. Just pop these off and sink them in. While the original Scope Dog came with an open hand, the Red Shoulder version includes a second open hand. It's a little cartoonishly large, but we could just pop this hand off, pop that one on, and then we could install our round mover. The round mover looks like this. The Revival dual model looks like this, and I just wanted to point out there was an improvement that happened as we went along in the years. The original one has this squared off grip and it's a moving assembly. By the time we got to the Revival dual model, it was now a bar that did not move. And this better emulates the art. And you could also see the paint done better on the Revival dual model, also better emulation of the line art. Here is a quick comparison of all of the different round movers. You can see that video game color really stands out from the others. I'm not really sure what the inspiration was. Installing the round mover is a very quick and easy job. There's these tabs on the back of the scope jog, just like the parachute pack. We line things up, we wiggle down, everything is fit. And just like the parachute pack, it does inhibit the toy from being able to get in the down position. And if we open up the cockpit right now, it won't allow this to open all the way, but it does open enough so you get that good pilot figure. And then of course, if you have like a flight pose stand or one of those router style stands, you can get some good flying poses like you see here. And that's pretty much your mileage for the round mover, not much more to it. Well, let's check out them red shoulder parts. The backpack installs just like the parachute pack. You just line up the slots on the back, apply a little pressure, and then rock it down like so. Plug in your missile pack. The Gatling gun goes below the left arm and will have ammunition that then feeds into the slot in the backpack. There's a missile launcher that mounts underneath the right arm. And most bizarrely, to install a solid shooter, you have to extend the punch gimmick and then slot the pegs in inside that cavity that you've created and press firmly into position. So the obvious problem with all of this is the extended arm, and this arm does not get extended, and so you get this asymmetrical look. And that might seem like a big deal, but the truth of the matter is you're probably going to have this arm raised and shooting at something, and this arm you're probably going to twist and put the gun in the hand. So at the end of the day, it really won't be that noticeable that you do have one arm a little longer than the other. As with other accessories, the backpack on the toy will inhibit the swing of the cockpit. So if I go to bring this up right now, it will run into that little knob in the backpack, but if your hinge is stiff enough, you can still open it up and see the pilot figure. If you're doing the Revival dual model, they made all the joints just a little looser, and so this will probably fall right back down on you. So one mark against the Revival dual model there. One of the other positives though is that this flap can now come all the way up, which means with the red shoulder parts installed, you can still do the downward position of the scope dog. So you can get it all the way down, and then you can go ahead and open this up and have your standing figure come on over and pretend to be getting in. So a little bit more play feature, even with those red shoulder accessories installed. The video game version, despite being a total piece of crap that falls apart, did introduce the paint-matched torso, knees, and shins, which carry over to the Revival dual model, which is my favorite red shoulder toy. The Revival dual model has a lot of extra paint apps. Even here you see the solid shooter, we've got different paint apps there. The Gatling gun behind it, paint apps there. We also get the stripe underneath the foot has a paint app that wasn't there and still carrying over those torso and shins and knees that are painted. And then we have things like the red tips on the missiles and rockets there. That's all nice. The gun has additional paint apps. So really the Revival dual model took everything and ratcheted up to its best and final form, which is really appreciated. And another place we see that is on the pilot. So if I move this back and I open this door, you can see a very nicely painted pilot figure. Even the seat that the pilot is on is now painted brown instead of just being flat gray like it was on the original. But wait, there's more! The Revival dual model comes with a fully painted standing Chirico figure as opposed to the flat gray or whatever accessory color of the previous dual model toys. So this is obviously a huge improvement and matches that seated pilot figure we saw earlier. Also, we have this short little gun, the variation of the normal rifle that has the front end exchanged for stub barrels. That's a cool feature. And we get the additional solid shooter which is particularly handy if you're going to be using that round mover accessory. Really pulls off that Space Assault look very nicely, or the Sansa look very nicely. So great accessories there. And if you're into it, there's also a fact sheet that comes with the Revival Dual model, as well as a poster. The clear version of the red shoulder has a clear red shoulder, which is making it my favorite clear version so far, but still not a big fan, although I always appreciate that you can see the big metal chunk in the feet and everything that's adding heft below and allows you to get those crazy sliding poses. But otherwise, the clear plastic just kind of obscures all of the detail of the toy, so I'm not a big fan. But let's do a little experiment. Let's take some of those cool Revival Dual model accessories and put them into the clear version and see if that makes for a more fun display piece. And here are the results of my experimentation. I've got the Revival Dual model rockets, missiles, and pilot figure in the clear version now, and I think it looks pretty cool. It's an improvement over the original at the very least, so that's another option if you happen to have both of them. Notes on playability. The red shoulder parts do not inhibit the articulation of the underlying scope dog. So as you saw in that scope dog video, very good articulation. The only thing you really can't do is bring these legs further apart than this. Otherwise, you get all the articulation you would expect, and actually much more from an 80s toy. Maybe not as much as a 2020s toy, but still very good for its era. Now you do have a spinning Gatling gun here. And usually the missiles will stay in there pretty good. You might have one loose one that kind of rattles, but keep that box more or less level and you're going to have no problem. Same thing with these missiles on the side. You might have one that's a little loose, but generally it's going to stay in there during handling and you're going to have a lot of fun. If I could own just one of these many dual model toys, it would be this Revival Dual Model red shoulder toy. It has all the accessories, best paint job, and a polished level of feel to it during handling that the others can't quite keep up with. Leave a comment if you agree or disagree, subscribe, and thanks everybody for watching.